we are live. Let's see. Welcome to the live chat. Remember to guard your privacy and abide by our community guidelines. Got it. Will do. See who jumps in this evening. On this Monday evening, hope everyone's doing well. Let's see here. What's next? Is that? Yeah, that's the right way. Oh, the Snared Life joins the live stream. You just never know. You never know what YouTube celebrity is gonna drop in on a live stream, and we've got one with us this evening. The Snared Life is in the live stream, everyone. So go check out his YouTube channel. Nope, no soccer today. No, or it's not my week, so I'm not shuttling to soccer practice. Time to prime some brass though. So gonna get these guys dumped into the tray. Let's see what's going on. The Brass Goblin, you got Darren. Oh me, let's see here. All right. Hey, Zach, did McGuire Ballistics reach out by chance? Sam hit me up and was asking. Oh man, one of them flipped upside down, of course, once I got it in the tray. Sam reached out and was just wondering about advertising on Hand Loader. And I was like, no idea, but that would be a good place to start. You know, advertise over there with those guys. And so I told him to reach out to Jeremiah. So if you wanna get that ball rolling. We got cornbread. Oh, so yeah, things with the new barrel. Well, the installation went surprisingly well. Nice. I just ordered the new. Is that Faxon action and barrel for the 8.6? Oh, okay. Now you're working on a second 8.6. 18 wheels and a dozen 6-shooters. Oh, what's going on? Happy Monday. Okay, good deal. Yeah, I told him to reach out to you. He sent me a text last week and was like, hey, I don't, he's like, marketing is not my strong suit. And he's like, I'd really like to do more of that and get the word out there on the bullet side of the house. So I just told him reach out to you, reach out to Jeremiah, and see what happens. But yeah, so the new barrel, the Christensen Arms Mesa barrel. Well, I guess I should specify because there's two new barrels. But the one that we were hoping and, would be just a pre-fit / drop in, spin the barrel off of the Remington 700 CDL action, spin the Mesa barrel on and pray that it headspace properly. Well, it actually did, which we were pretty shocked. I went up to Mr. Big Guns in Huntsville, and they're not a gunsmith at all. So I can't remember who it was. Somebody had commented, it's like, hey, are they gonna, square up the lugs and all this other stuff? And if I would have taken it to a gunsmith, yes, while they're in there tearing everything apart, I would have had them blueprint the whole nine, go all in. on working on the action and all that fun stuff. But Mr. Big Guns is just a gun store. However, they do have a barrel vise, and my buddy was kind enough to let me use it. They do some assembly and that type of stuff, but in terms of just, you know, more in-depth gunsmithing stuff, they don't get involved with all that. So the plan was take it there, and if I could break the barrel loose and spin the other one on and it headspace properly, that would have been the best case scenario, right? Worst case would have been, hey, we can't break the barrel loose. Now I got to take it to a gunsmith and they got to do it, right? Which I was prepared to do, so it wasn't a big deal. You can't hide money. No, I'll tell you where you can hide money is in barrels. That's where you can hide money. So went up there, and this was, I guess, Thursday maybe. I don't know, whatever day it was. I think it was Thursday. No, Friday. Was it Friday? I can't keep track now. It might have been, I think it was Friday. Went up there, and he has a short action customs barrel vise. And sure enough, I mean, me and him both, man, he's a pretty big boy, and so am I. Like I said, I'm like 250. And he was telling me he's just a biscuit over 3. And we put everything we had into, trying to break that barrel loose, and luckily it did. We were able to spin it off. Had to break out a pipe wrench, so there are some teeth marks on the 243 barrel. No big deal. I don't care. And I knew that going in, and he made sure. He was like, "Hey, by the way, if you really want to try to spin this thing off, we may have to break out a pipe wrench." And that's what we did. And it broke loose, which was nice. Went ahead, pulled that barrel off, grabbed the Christensen Arms Mesa barrel, spun it on. And now it doesn't line up in terms of heat gun. It doesn't line up in terms of like the wording on the barrel, where the barrel's, etched and all that stuff. It didn't spin on like perfectly where everything lines up just right with the wording and all of that stuff on the barrel, but I don't really care. But it did spin on. We were able to torque it to spec, and it head spaced properly. The bolt closed on the go gauge, and it did not close on the no-go gauge. So he couldn't believe it. He was like, that virtually never happens. So we got extremely lucky on Friday. And so let's see. After that, I haven't really done anything with it. I was pretty busy all weekend. I was out of town, and so I hadn't messed with it. But I did stop by Midway Pistol and Ammo earlier. Let's see here. Pick up some more targets, so you can see there, Midway Pistol and Ammo, Gurley, Alabama. Stop in, check out those guys. So Mark, the owner over there, he's made a ton of renovations to that place and changed up a lot of what he's doing. He's partnered with one of those bullion guys or whatever, silver and gold and all that fun stuff. So if you're into precious metals, he's got a section of his store dedicated to that. Got a guy in there that handles all that stuff too. So, if you're into that kind of thing. But yeah, so stopped in there to get those targets. One thing I do like about those targets, they're called Easy Eye targets, EZ-I, EYE targets. And I believe there's somebody local that prints them. Okay, yeah. C&A Printing, designed by a shooter for a shooter, C&A Printing, Huntsville, Alabama. So that's a local company that prints those for Midway Pistol and Ammo. And what I like about it is it's a pretty thick, almost like I don't want to say card stock, but it is. It's a pretty thick material. It's not paper. And so it leaves really good bullet holes whenever you're shooting, because that's probably the biggest drawback of paper. Go watch CW Long Shot, some of his videos recently where he's got paper up, and then it just kind of tears through the paper, and it's hard to really see, bullet holes and all that fun stuff. So let's see. What am I priming? I am priming some Lapua 6.5 Creedmoor, small primer brass. Also, this has the undersized flash hole. And so I'm getting prepped to load up some stuff for the first range trip for that new barrel swap situation. So that's what I'm working on. My plan is to, Cornbread said we're in business. Yeah, definitely. My plan is to load up some of the loads that performed well for me historically, and in other rifles, and just see how they shoot in this new barrel. Those primers are precious metals, most definitely. Couldn't hear you earlier. How you doing? Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. About as well as I can be. Yeah, the fact that barrel spun on there and head spaced, and we were able to get it torque spec and the whole nine like that, we were shocked, but everything worked out. And I did check earlier, I've got it written down in my notebook, but this is the last one. There we go. So 50 pieces primed. Oh yeah, check out the, Zach, check out the tray I'm using. I'm using the 308 Winchester tray that you made for me. So shout out to Reloading Quest. He's in the live stream. He sells this kind of stuff, 3D printed, basically pretty much anything reloading related and 3D printable. He makes it and sells it. So, and I'm sure he'd hook you up with whatever you want if you have a file or however that works. Any brass prep? So this stuff has been fired probably, oh Lord, at this point, this stuff's probably been fired, I don't know, 10 times maybe. So we're on probably, firing 10, 11, somewhere in that range. And so for this stuff, all I did was I decapped it with a universal decapping die. Now on the universal decapping die, I did grind down the decapping pin. It's a Lee. I ground down the decapping pin so it would actually fit through the flash hole since these are undersized. I decap them, I wet tumble them with stainless steel pins, hot water, and the Frankfurt Arsenal little detergent packets. Wet tumble them, dry them in the oven for a handful of hours. And then once I'm done with that, I resize them with a Hornady full length sizing die. I remove the expander ball and the decapping assembly altogether. So really it's just like a body die pretty much. And it's pushing the shoulder back 2/1000ths. From there, because the necks are undersized, I use, which these, if you go and look at L.E. Wilson stuff, right, they're expanding mandrel sizing die. Okay, if you read the instructions, it's really for new brass. When you get new brass, and sometimes you'll have a case mouth that's deformed, it's really to uniform the case mouths is what this is for. But I found that the 6.5 mandrel in here, at least in the past, over a couple of different rifles now, has given me really, I won't say perfect neck tension because I haven't tested it to determine what perfect is, but the neck tension has worked out really well when I use that method. And so I'm not gonna change it. I'm just gonna keep rolling with what works. So I do that just to expand the mouth back out. And then from there, chamfer deburr on the case mouth, run a brush in the neck, and prime it. So I did all that off camera earlier, got all that done, and we're ready to go. But like I said, this stuff's been fired a whole lot. Yeah, so we'll see. I do have a box of, let's see, I believe it's small primer stuff, more Lapua small primer brass, undersized flash hole brass. I bought a brand new box. I don't know, it's probably been a handful of months ago, and I've worked my way through like 80 of the pieces are once fired, and I've got some rounds still loaded up that I was gonna shoot in my Kimber, but I'm gonna shoot those in this new, whatever we wanna call this new gun, since we did the barrel swap. So need to make you one for the 6.5. Well, the 308 one works well. I mean, it's basically a perfect fit, obviously, for for the 6.5. So yeah, 308 one works really good. No complaints. But I did pick up this stuff, the Hornady match, again when I was out at Midway Pistol and Ammo. I picked this stuff up just to shoot it right off the bat. This is what we're gonna get the Remesa, exactly. This is what we're gonna basically get everything, you know, sighted in with, get the scope zeroed, all that. We're gonna do that with the match, the Hornady match. This is the 147 ELD match stuff, which I've got a couple boxes of those. I think I got a couple, yeah. I think I got like 200 of the 147 ELD match bullets. And I don't really have a plan to use them. They've been sitting on my shelf for probably 2 years now. Don't really have a plan to use them, but we might use them. You know, if this stuff shoots amazing, then we might load some up with those bullets and test them out. But really, it's going to be going back to, you know, evaluating or going back and looking at the data. Hey, the 140 Spear Gold Dot, I know I'm testing that with H4350, 42 grains of it at 2.750 overall length. I'm testing that. I'm testing the 140 Spear Impact with Alliant Power Pro 4000 MR. I think it's like, I can't remember the charge weight off the top of my head. But I'll be testing that at probably like 2.825, I think is what I loaded at last time. It shot really well out of the Kimber. What else? Probably I'll definitely be loading the 125 Maguire Ballistics, see how they shoot out of this barrel. They didn't shoot as well as I would have liked out of the Kimber, but you know, we'll give them a try in this barrel and go from there. So I'll be shooting those. I've got a lineup of bullets over there that I actually was testing Jam Point earlier. Let's see, I've got some Nosler 120 ballistic tips, but I'll probably actually give those to the Snared Life. So shout out to him. He's in the chat down there, hanging out in the live stream. Y'all go follow his channel on YouTube. Great stuff. I'll probably just send those to him because I don't plan on shooting them. I don't have many of them, maybe, you know, 20 or 30, so it's not like it's a bunch, but I do have some 120, some Barnes tip TSX that I plan on loading up, 127 LRX, and yeah, that's probably about it. I do have some Berger 135 Classic Hunters, but I don't know. That's just not really, I don't know, that style of bullet construction. I'm not the biggest fan of, but will you crimp those 6.5s? No, I will not. Stand by. And we're back. And we're back. And we're back. All right. Nope, won't crimp them. Oh, I need to make a cup of coffee also. So you guys hang out, watch the door. Watch my 6. While we do a tactical reload on the coffee. Well then. No, I mean I won't be crimping. Will not be. You gave up on crimping. I don't crimp anything that goes into a bolt action. So I will crimp on gas gun stuff. I will do that. But yep, will not be crimping. Crimping ain't easy, that's right. It's just an added step. And there may be benefit to it. I don't know. Would that benefit be larger than the shooter's influence on the entire system itself? Probably not. Maybe, maybe not. But it kind of goes back to the barrel break-in thing, right? Is it wrong to crimp for bolt action? I don't guess. Could it help? I don't know, maybe. Your SDs are not as good. So are they not as good if you do crimp or if you don't crimp? because I can see it going either way. If you do crimp and you have a more consistent neck tension on the case, I could see it improving. But then also on the flip side of that, depending on how you're crimping, if it's variable force to actually crimp the brass on the bullet, well, then you could be introducing, just like I said, variable forces and, you know, different neck tension on that bullet. And then that could be, you know, causing you some wonky numbers. You crimp a little on all, got you. Mine are better crimping, gas and bolt. The key is the quarter turn. See, what I tell you, the Snared Life. I told y'all to go follow his channel, but y'all ain't listening. Go follow. Like, share, subscribe. That was his comment. He said his are better when he does crimp for both a gas gun and a bolt gun. The key for him is the quarter turn. Now what he's talking about there, quarter turn, so you're talking about quarter turn when you seat the bullet or when you crimp? I would think you're talking about when you go to seat them, probably, if I had to guess. But yeah, got the RC, you guys can't see it, but I got the RCBS Chargemaster Lite, Lite. I've had it on and warming up for quite a while now. It's just been hanging out. Both. All right, so, okay, so the Snared Life points out the fact that when he goes and does bullet seating, he will do, so he'll seat the bullet and then he'll rotate the case a quarter turn, seat it again, which I've heard, and I've seen a lot of other people do this, that improves the concentricity of the round. And then he does the same thing when he crimps. So when he goes and crimps the bullet, he crimps it, quarter turn, come back down, same deal, crimp again, and there you go. And he sees an improvement that way. So you guys give it a shot, see if that works for you. And it might. I mean, that might be something where, you know, that could be something that, where if you have a, I guess either way, if you have a known, like a really, really dialed in load for something, then you could check the effects of crimp, right? You got a known dialed in load. Does this make it better or worse? Okay, then you could actually test for that. Or right the opposite. You've got a gun like a Ruger M77 Hawkeye in 25-06 that for the life of you cannot get to shoot well. Okay, well, it all shoots poorly. What are the effects of crimp on this exact same, you know, window in terms of charge weight, overall length, all that stuff? So, something to think about. But hopefully you guys are having a good evening. Hopefully your Monday wasn't too Monday. Oh, I did get the barrel cleaned up today. That was the other thing I did. So for the Remesa, I guess we'll call it, I have the barrel scrubbed. And completely clean. Slower the powder burn, use a little more crimp. So the slower the powder burn for that cartridge, I'm thinking that's what you're saying, or are you talking about slower the powder burn in general on the burn rate chart? Slower the powder burn, add more crimp. So as you go down the burn rate chart, right, and get higher in number, I guess we'll say, higher in number as in larger in number, then you would want to crimp more. Or if it's just for that particular cartridge, using a slower burn powder for that one. The plan is to use some really good, in terms of 6.5 Creedmoor powders, to try to give this stuff the best opportunity to perform extremely well. So again, lop will. Okay, you seat and do a half turn. So reloading Quest, he seats and does a half turn. So I don't do any of that. I just seat the bullet and roll with it. So I don't know. Maybe I'm missing out. Uh, but yeah, so the plan is to use H4350 for some of the loads, and I've got some Vitivori in 555, so I'll be using what I have, what's left of that. I don't have a ton, but I've got, it's probably less than half a pound. So I'll use some of that, and then Power Pro, yeah, Alliant Power Pro 4000 MR. I'll also be using some of that. What's the matter? Huh? The dog's whining at something. But yeah, that's kind of the plan. I don't want to go off into left field, start using, just random powders just to be testing stuff. I want to see how this stuff will shoot right off the bat, right, with really really good ammo, or at least ammo that's been really good to me in the past and performed really well in other 6.5 rifles. So Ramshot Grand, but I have not seen it yet. Oh yeah, so it's interesting that powder. So you guys need to go watch, if you're not following Little Crow Gunworks on YouTube. Those guys, man, you want to talk about, if you're a 7 PRC guy and you want to go get your feathers ruffled, go watch Little Crow Gunworks. And yeah, they're pretty funny. They're a good watch. I've been watching a lot of their stuff lately. They're going through and basically doing a head-to-head comparison of 4 different 7mm cartridges. I'm trying to remember them now. I know the PRC is one, 7 PRC is one, 280 Ackley Improved is one. I think it might be 7 Rim Mag. Is it 7 Rim Mag? Maybe. And I think 28 Nosler. I believe those are the 4. Love their trimmers. I've never tried them. So Crash. Yeah, I've never tried them. So may have to give those a try as well. But they also make custom rifles and all of that stuff, and that's what they're in the business of selling. So their videos are pretty long. So if you go and you start to jump into that series, just be prepared to take a while to sit and watch them. I think the last one they just posted was like maybe an hour and a half long or something like that. But I can't remember the guy's name from there. He's their business development, sort of product marketing, maybe marketing, part of engineering. Like it's not a massive company by any means. And he goes through step by step. Hey, here's what we're doing, and it's gonna be broken down. The series is gonna be broken down into a ton of videos, but he goes through excruciating detail as to why they chose those 4 cartridges to compare against, why they're doing it, how they're doing it, the bullet that they chose, which is the 160 Hornady CX. That'll be tested in all 4. Um, Barrel lengths are all going to be the same, like 26-inch barrels. The whole, they're obviously building all 4 of the guns and all this stuff. So it's this whole big process. He goes through, I think it's Gordon's reloading tool. He walks you through that very in-depth walkthrough and overview of, how he determines what powders are acceptable to use. That was a really interesting video. I highly recommend anybody go watch that one. I think it's the last one they just posted, Little Crow Gunworks. Go look at it. It's in their 7mm series. And that was very interesting to hear him break it down and the thought process behind the powders that he selected. And you can go there and knowing, like case volume, and because you got to have all the to put into Gordon's reloading tool to get accurate information back, right? And you can check your pressure, all the other stuff in the tool and everything, and it just gives you a good idea of what powders would be better suited. Powder now is extremely expensive, so you don't want to waste a ton of money of just going out and basically doing the shotgun approach and buying a bunch of different powder and a bunch of different bullets and going out and just testing everything, which is basically what I do. It's just, it's a more well-defined and refined approach to establishing what powder am I going to use, you know, for a given bullet and blah, 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 and all that stuff. So go check it out. Reloading Quest. He loads a lot how I do. Yeah, his talk on Gordon's reloading tool is really good. Yep, Gordon's reloading tool is, I don't have it. You need it, from what I understand, you have to have a computer to use it. I don't think you can actually. It is a free reloading tool that is out and available. No idea where you go or how to get it or anything like that. But there's like a bunch of videos on YouTube about it. You can go look into it. I really need to get like a laptop or something. The only computer I have is a work computer, and I can't do any of that stuff on that computer. So I really do need to look into getting just a cheap laptop, you know, that I can download that tool onto and then begin to use it. So it's really neat though. There's a lot of videos on YouTube. Just go look up Gordon's reloading tool. I think it's G-O-R. Is it G-O-R-D-O-N maybe? Go look it up, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff. You can really dive deep down into the rabbit hole of reloading. But it's good because he basically broke it down and showed, you know, hey, it gives you like your expected percent burn of powder. You want 100% burn and all this other stuff. And he broke it down really good. So highly recommend you guys check that out. Got to get your coffee. But yeah, got my jam point notes all written down. The only problem is I cannot seem to find my Kimber. I've got a little field notes notebook with all my Kimber data in it, the jam point for a bunch of different bullets and all that stuff. So I need to look that up and just see how these compare in terms of the jam point, because according to Christensen Arms, right, it's a match chamber, whatever that means. I really don't know, but it's a match chamber, 6.5 Creedmoor. No clue. All I know is we got the thing to headspace. We didn't, but it headspaced properly as soon as we screwed the thing on and torqued it to spec. So we're just gonna send it. Me too. I have an old one, but it's sketchy to use. Yeah, and that's the thing, because there's also, was it Quick Load? There's a couple of different reloading tools, software-based stuff that you can get. Hey, could you be any louder? It's funny, the dog actually tore up our rug in the living room, and that was really like his only place to run around and go nuts, because otherwise hardwood floors, you know, the fake stuff, throughout like the kitchen and the living area and all that, living room. And so now he doesn't really have a space to run around and kind of get traction. So it's funny, man, he'll come around and turn just busted every time. It's tight on tolerance for the brass. Good. Then that means we won't have crazy expansion of the brass and head spacing and all that fun stuff. So that's good. Shouldn't have far to go then. But I did test this brass just to make sure. After I sized it with that body die and pushed shoulder back 2000s, I did make sure it would chamber, and it did. You know, no issues there. So we're good to go. That's how I figured out if I'm getting 100% burn rate. Yeah, and that's the thing too. You know, I go back and forth. I mean, I probably just need to get it and just start playing around with it and using it. But at the same time, I really enjoy testing different stuff. You know, just different combinations, different powders, and just seeing how things perform. I don't know. That's what I enjoy doing. But it would be good to know, like going in, hey, this combination, you know, probably on the sketchy side, not exactly going to be an ideal performer. We'll see if it shoots, right? It could be more of that approach. You'll see pressure faster. Yeah, because everything's on the tighter side of the house. So yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Smaller area. So we'll see. I mean, that could play into, you know, I'm going to load these up exactly. I mean, they're going to be duplicate loads of what I've shot in the past. So we'll see if I throw them in there and these things shoot like garbage. Maybe the match chamber, you know, maybe there's something to it. Maybe I need to adjust the charge weight. Who knows? But it should be fun. We'll see. Hopefully I can get out to the range one day this week. I don't know if I'll be able to. I mean, of course, it's like perfect weather outside right now. I'm looking outside and the sun's shining, wind's blowing a little bit. It's like 80, 82, something like that. But, you know, I think it's supposed to like storm all week or something like that. That's why we're going to start off with this stuff. That was another reason why I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pick up a box of factory ammunition. This stuff should run in anything. So I'm going to pick this stuff up and see how it shoots, right? So that's kind of the plan. And then transition into the hand loads. And two, that again, that helps me get on paper, right? Because I had everything torn apart down to the action. So putting everything back together, getting the scope back on there, of course, I got to go back, get it bore sighted, re-zero it, and all that. I didn't want to burn through hand loads doing that. So went ahead and picked up a box of the Hornady match. My dog is going nuts on his new toy over there. Oh, also one thing I did manage to do while we had everything torn apart, I was like, hey, Matt, do you guys have any aftermarket triggers for a Remington 700? And he was like, yep. So they have, let's see. I ended up going with a Bix and Andy. And apparently those are some really, really nice triggers. So went with that. It's the TAC Sport Pro, which that's TAC, not TAX, TAC Sport Pro, which that trigger is really more of a competition trigger, not exactly, you know, ideal for a hunting, you know, setup, which they do offer hunting triggers, more hunting oriented triggers. But I went with that one, and you can adjust it from 3 ounces up to 2 pounds. So I've got it right now, I've got it pulling, I think just a hair under 2 pounds. We're right at almost at that 2 pound mark. So we're at the very upper end of that trigger adjustment. And it's an insanely nice trigger, like incredibly nice Remington 700 trigger. So got some storms in Gainsborough, Tennessee. Yeah, we did earlier today. We had some storms rolling through first thing this morning, and it looks like it's going to storm all week. So yeah, not exactly thrilled about that. So I'll have to try to hit the range whenever I can make it out. So that's kind of my plan, to get this ammo loaded up tonight and just have it sitting there waiting. Like I said, I've already picked up some new targets, so that'll be nice. Got these guys, they're more of a, like I was already saying, more of a hard kind of cardstock style material, so that way it leaves good clean bullet holes when it's going through. It's not doing it doesn't tear it and all that stuff like it normally does on paper. So one thing also, let's see here, let me get this thing out of the box, but picked up this guy. Hawk. Picked up a Hawk. So I hate CW is not in the live stream right now, because he would be all in on this Hawk scope. So, yep, picked up a Hawk. It's a display, you know, model, but picked it up over at Midway Pistol and Ammo. So shout out to Mark again. He is now a Hawk distributor, I guess, if you want to call it that. So if you're interested in Hawk optics, booyah. If you're interested in Hawk and you are coming through this part of Alabama, North Alabama, then you can swing in there. Gurley, it's in Gurley, Alabama, Midway Pistol and Ammo. You can swing in there, and he's got some Hawk scopes sitting on the shelf that you can actually handle and check out. So these just have kind of some scope ring, I guess, kind of marks / residue on them a little bit. It's a display model, but picked it up. I'm a big fan of Hawk. I've had a couple of their scopes before in the past. I have gotten rid of them, but not because I just didn't like them. It wasn't anything like that, but they make good stuff. They are based out of England, I believe. And this scope is made in China, like the vast majority of the scopes that you buy are made in China. There's a handful made elsewhere, but for a lot of them, they're made in China. So I hate to break that to you if you're a little sensitive to that. Is what it is. This stuff, so this is the Vantage 30 wide angle, I believe is what that WA stands for. Is Vantage 30 WAIR. And the IR is illuminated reticle, I do believe, because this has illumination. It's red and green, so that's pretty cool. Red and green on the illumination. Does it show? No, it doesn't. Oh, I thought it would show the reticle, but it does not. Born in the UK, yeah. Hawkoptics.com, you can go check it out. This is the 2.5 to 10 by 50. That's the version that I picked up. And it's got the L4A dot. So it's basically just a floating center dot in the middle of the crosshair. So you've got a section around the crosshair that's kind of cut out and open, and there's just a floating dot in the middle of this thing. And that's what illuminates. So it's pretty nice, actually, for hunting purposes, to have that illumination capability in low light hunting scenarios. It does come in handy. I know you don't necessarily encounter that a ton. It's not like every time you go hunting, you're going to run into a low light scenario where the illumination is just massively critical, and you know it serves its purpose. But there have been occasions, one or two, where illuminated reticle made the difference in terms of me being able to get a shot, an ethical shot on an animal, right, on a white-tailed deer. So it's not something that I use every time I hunt, but I have used it, and it has made the difference. So, and actually, it actually made all the difference in my wife's ability to kill her first deer, which was it was a massive doe, and I had the dog's going nuts. It was actually a 6.5 Grendel. It was an AR setup, and it had a primary arms optic on it, I believe. Yeah, and I had the illumination turned on because it was right there, sort of toward the tail end of legal shooting light. You know, getting pretty dark, and we could tell it was a doe out in the field. The whole, like, visibly we could tell. And then, but looking through the scope, and of course with everything being black on the reticle, it was extremely difficult to tell, you know, where you were holding on the doe. Cut that illumination on. She's like, oh yeah, good to go. It was no problem. So she made an awesome shot. Sean said, ever shoot 222 Remington? No, have not. I need one with thinner crosshair. Mine is huge. Yeah, so this one, you know, that the dot is, let's see, I wonder what, I mean, the dot is, you know, on the larger side, but it's a second focal plane scope, and so of course it doesn't give you the dot size. I'm sure if you go to their website and look it up, you can find the actual dimension of the dot. I know a lot of scopes include that. If they have like that floating center dot, they'll include the dimensions of it. But yeah, and so if you're looking for something with a thin crosshair, you really need to look into the SWFA ultralight 2.5 to 10, which is what I have mounted on that Remesa, whatever we want to call it at this point. And the crosshair, it's pretty thin. It's extremely thin, which I was really pleased to see when I got it in, because some scope companies, they'll say, hey, we have a thin crosshair, right, or whatever, and it's nowhere near as thin as that SWFA. Like, yeah, it is wire thin. So if you ever get a clip-on thermal, illumination is a must. So that's really the thing with these. But the reason I picked this up is because it's going to replace the Conus LZ30. I say it's going to replace. It's going to be a direct comparison between this optic, 2.5 to 10 by 50, against the Conus Pro, I think it's the Conus Pro LZ30, which is also a 2.5 to 10 by 50 optic. And that is what's currently sitting on the 270 Winchester. Now, the reason why I'm thinking about swapping it out is for what you're talking about exactly, Cornbread. That Conus LZ30, that reticle, the crosshair design that they came up with. I mean, I know they're Italian, but like, I don't know who sat in that design review and said, guys, I think what we need is like a really, really, really thick crosshair section, right, just right in the middle of the reticle, guys. We really, because coming to the crosshairs, it's thin, and then all of a sudden, you've got this really thick, crosshair, and it is illuminated. So I don't know if that's the reason why they made it so thick, was just for illumination purposes. But in terms of trying to shoot precise, right, and really hold extremely tight, you're not going to be able to do it on that LZ30. And so I feel like that's somewhat of a limiting factor in shooting groups, like going and doing group testing out at the range with that particular scope. Now, for hunting purposes, no issue whatsoever, no problem. Like, I've killed, I think, a few deer now with that combination. It's on a Tika T3X, and there's been no problems hunting wise, right? There's no issue hunting. It's just, you know, when you go and you're doing group testing, it is not the greatest in the world. Now, the dot in here is, larger than I would probably like. So this isn't going to be exactly ideal either to go do group testing, but I think it will be better than that LZ30. So, but yeah, this seems to be a really nice scope so far. And like I said, a CW long shot was on here. The glass is really clear, by the way, on these scopes. I have been impressed with the glass clarity and image quality. Now, one thing I also like about these versus the Conus, this is more of a hunting style optic, right? You have cap turrets that are low profile turrets, so that's nice as well. The Conus, it's kind of large in terms of the turrets. They sit proud quite a bit, more of target style turrets. You guys know what I'm talking about. Now these, they're not super audible and tactile. I'm sure you guys can hear that, but it's not extremely crisp and tactile, which is fine. I mean, again, this is more of a set it and forget it style scope. You're not going to be dialing these out in the field. But I do like the fact that they're capped. Now on the Conus, you have to actually lift them up on the elevation and the windage. If I remember right, I think you actually have to lift those up to make the adjustment and then lock them back down in place, which is fine. But again, in a hunting scenario, hunting application, low profile cap turrets are really nice. I really need to take a picture of that 6.5 millimeter bullets that I was measuring earlier in the Remesa. I really need to take a picture of those. I've got them all lined up over there on the other side of the kitchen island. So clip-on thermals. Yeah, I would like to get into the thermal game at some point. Alabama, they do allow night hunting now on private land or leased land. So you're able to go do that. You can hunt, I believe, hogs and coyotes at night now, which is really nice. But that's, yeah, I'll get there eventually. You cannot hunt at night on public land. That's probably a good thing. I don't think you'd want everybody and their brother running around public land with thermals chasing Bigfoot. So I need to get this thing calibrated. Let's see, it's been warming up the whole time we've been on doing the live stream. Let's get it calibrated and ready to dump some charge weights. Get it zeroed, got the pan on there. Let's get it zeroed, there we go. Do you notice a difference from a full length? What do you mean? Notice a difference from a full length? Add to that, I gotta grab some powder. H4350. So that's what we're gonna start with. I'll actually probably load. Yeah, I may load a couple of different bullets with H4350 there. Standard full length sizing die and a collet die. So no, I'm trying to remember. I did a little bit. I mean, it was a small sample size in terms of, you know, volume for testing. I'm trying to remember. I don't really think I saw a difference. The main thing, I guess the main thing that you're doing by, you know, well, like for me, for instance, the way I size my brass, the way I size this Lapua brass is I decap it, right? I do that. I decap it first after I shoot it. I wet tumble it, so I clean all my brass. And then I size it in a Hornady full-length sizing die with the expander ball and decapping assembly completely removed. So it's essentially a full-length sizing die, but it's basically like a body die, right? And all it's doing is pushing the shoulder back 2 thousandths of what I've got it set to. And then I come behind it with a L.E. Wilson, it's not gonna focus, expanding mandrel sizing die. Now, that is not what that die, the L.E. Wilson die, that's not what it was designed for. It was designed to uniform case mounts on brand new brass that you get, because sometimes they'll be out around. That's what they designed it to do. But what I've found in the testing I've done is it provides good enough neck tension for me to get acceptable performance on target, right? So for me, that's the only reason I do it that way. You know, you could, with the Creedmoor, with the Hornady full-length sizing die, it would probably be just fine. Like really, you're more or less, when you go with the mandrel, you might improve the uniformity of the inside of the mouth, possibly. Inside of the neck, of the case neck. Just thinking through this, you know, instead of running an expander ball down into the brass and then pulling it back out, you know, you may improve your internal, the concentricity of the neck, but I mean, really, if you're gonna if you're gonna make the most, I guess the most precise ammo you could possibly make, then you probably need to get one of those, was it those iodide case neck trimmers, and or case neck, um, yeah, trimmers, neck turners, and turn the inside and outside of the neck. I mean, if you want to take it to the nth degree to make sure you have extremely consistent neck wall thickness and extremely concentric case necks, that's the type of stuff you would have to do. But I don't do all that. So full length sizing die, take the expanding and decapping assembly out, and then I just use the. Now I will caveat that, and I will also say that I tried that in 30 cal because I have a 30 cal mandrel as well in this, and the neck tension was pretty light. It was way too light for, or at least what I thought. I mean, it was only like half thou neck tension, which was insane. And so I tried that on my 30 TC hand loads and did not. I just didn't. I didn't like neck tension man that light. For some reason, on the 6.5, it's not as light as that, and it seems to do really well that way. I mean, I haven't run into really any issues doing it the way I do it. So, I mean, you could probably test. You could test all that to the nth degree, and with the dispersion and the variation from group to group and all that stuff, you could say, oh, well, the cop die better, or oh, well, the expanding mandrel's better, or well, the full length sizing die is better this time. You know, if you shot a large enough sample size of all of them, you might see a winner over time. But how much, I mean, really, how many components is that going to require you to use to get to the end result? And do you see a half MOA improvement? I don't know. Over one over the other, right? How much testing do you have to do to finally validate, yes, this will always give you, you know, quarter MOA improvement if you do it this way? So I think that's really probably the issue that you run into with people like myself, right? Because I'm not going to burn through the components, you know, necessary to do the amount of testing that would be involved to actually display that, showcase that, right? So for me, that's the way I do it. I don't have any qualms about doing it that way. And there's a lot of stuff I just do a standard full length sizing die. That's it. That's how I size my stuff. I don't do any. The only reason I do it this way with this is because this came in some stuff that I bought off a guy. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it this way. I would leave the expander. I'd leave the expander ball assembly in there. I would just cut the decapping pin off or just remove it and just use a full length sizing die. But literally the only reason I do it is because it came with a bunch of stuff I bought off a guy. So go ahead and get a Vortex razor, cry once. Yup. Good afternoon, 67 Rebel. More consistent neck pressure. More for setting neck tension. Not sure it really makes a difference though in a factory rifle. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. Like, and that goes back to the point of like how would you be able to set up a test and reduce all of the variables down to only your neck tension is what's causing the difference on paper? To me, I don't know how you do that. Like, just talking through it, I don't know how you can, knowing what we know now because of YouTube and the amount of information that's out there with all of these guys posting videos lately, even like Hornady and Applied Ballistics and all those guys, Brian Litz, is there's so many variables that go into making this bullet hit a sheet of paper at a certain distance. Like, how do you mitigate and control all the way down to, you know, I have segregated it to, we are only testing neck tension and that's it. And whatever results we have from this test, we can directly correlate to only being neck tension related. I don't think you can do that. I don't know how you would instrument the test in a way that would allow you to do that. So, you know, yeah, you could chase your tail down that rabbit hole quite a bit. So, will it kill more deer? I'm telling you. Do the deer even know, right? Are they any more deader? I don't think so. U.S. countryman, how can I get started? Well, go buy you a bunch of stuff. Right? I mean, at the end of the day, like if somebody's wanting to get into reloading and you want to get in as budget friendly as possible, I would just go buy a Lee breech lock Challenger kit and go from there. I mean, that's gonna let you know real quick if it's Lee Precision, Lee Precision. That's going to let you know real quick whether or not you even want to get into this, right? Like you go and buy that, you're not out a ton of money. And because the money is going to come in, like the equipment is the cheap part, because the equipment will last you quite a while. Even the Lee stuff will last you a while if you take care of it and maintain it. But what's going to get you is, because you got brass, I would assume, if you've done any amount of shooting and kept your brass, so you have brass. The problem is going to be finding these guys, right? You got to find primers, and then once you have primers, it's buying this stuff, powder and bullets, and that stuff can add up real quick. And so really that would be the cheapest way to get into it. MidwayUSA.com. Go look up their reloading kits, buy a kit, don't buy anything expensive, get something on the cheap, and start from there. Because once you start loading, once you go through the process, because I started off, that's what I did. I bought a Lee breech lock Challenger kit off of Amazon for like $100, and I loaded up some 223 to start with and some 9mm, and I loaded up 100 rounds of 9mm. All right, I bought a bag of Starline brass, primed them, loaded all 100 on a single stage press, and I learned real quick I don't ever want to load handgun ammunition on a single stage press again. So I haven't loaded it on that style of press since the very first time I did it, because I went to the range, I shot those 100 rounds in whatever matter of minutes, right? You load up, well, however long it takes you to load up the mags for a Glock, and then just do some mag dumps into the berm, and you're like, holy cow, I invested a lot of time in loading this ammunition and I just burned through it in a matter of minutes. I'm not going to do that again. So that's kind of what you got to figure out, right? What are you trying to do? Because if you want to go, load bulk ammunition, well, then just go buy a Lee progressive setup then, right? It doesn't have to be a single stage press. Go buy a cheap Lee progressive setup for 9mm and roll with that, right? It really depends on what you're trying to do for the most part. But I started off with a budget setup and then quickly realized, man, I really love loading for rifle ammunition. What's going on, AR, in the house tonight? Look at him. AR Patriot, 1776. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, so I learned really quick that, man, I love loading rifle ammunition, specifically for bolt actions, not necessarily gas gun stuff. Like I've loaded for that in the past, but it chews up the brass to the point where, you can definitely reload it, but you don't get as many firings out of it, and so on and so forth. And there's limitations in the pressures that you can run, and it's a restrictive platform when it comes to hand loading. And for a bolt action, the sky is not the limit, because you can definitely blow one up real quick, but there's more variables you can play around with in a bolt action and loading for one than, versus a gas gun. So that's why I kind of just fell in love with reloading for bolt actions, and that's kind of what I enjoy. So from the UK, oh, hey, by the way, so we got Alex Tunnicliffe. Hey, so if you're from the UK, there you go. Shout out to you. It says it right there. Born in the UK. It won't focus. It won't do it. Born in the UK. So shout out to you, Alex says, I love your streams. Oh, I appreciate that. Well, I really like Hawk Optics that, they're headquartered in the UK. So AR says he's got a lot of relatives in Alabama. Yeah, so U.S. country, it's I don't know, because I get asked that question a lot about how to get into reloading and what you should buy and what you shouldn't buy. I'm actually working with a guy. He's a coworker of mine right now on, you know, what should he purchase. But I walked it back, and just like I was saying, what do you plan on doing, right? He plans on shooting a lot of volume. He goes to the range pretty much once a week, and he shoots high volume, 308. He shoots a lot of 357 mag, that type of stuff. So, when and he's wanting to get into hunting. He loves to shoot. So that type of person, okay, we probably need to go a little bit of a different route, right? So it really just depends on what you want to do, you know, as far as your end goal. If you want to go compete in F class against Eric Cortina and F class John and all those guys, then you don't need to listen to me, because I ain't the guy. I don't do that. I don't mess with all that. You need to go watch F class John. Go buy you a Dillon, was it a Dillon 750 or 650 or whatever they use. They load their precision ammo on a Dillon, progressive press. So, but yeah, start out cheap just to get into the hobby, to see if you even want to do it. Now, of course, you can, go all in, spend as much as you want, just like any other hobby. And you can resell the stuff, right? Like you get into it and you go, I think Ultimate Reloader just did a video on that not too long ago, right? It did the cost analysis between buying factory ammunition and reloading. And there is resale value in the equipment, in the components. Some people are a little leery of buying powder from someone, right? Because you have no clue how it's been stored. So there is that aspect to it. But typically you're probably not going to get your money back, but you'll be able to get something out of the initial investment. So KM said Hawk is a strong optic. Some of their scopes are even okay for springers. Oh yeah, you're talking about air rifles, I believe. Get a turret or a Dillon 550 or 750. Yeah, so AR, so that's what I told my coworker. Once we kind of got into it a little bit in terms of the conversation and trying to figure out exactly, what is your end goal and what you're trying to get from reloading, I sent him a kit as a lineman kit, actually. And it's got the Lyman All-American 8 turret press. I've got another buddy that has that press, and it works really well. And I was like, you know what? It's a more expensive kit. It's like $600, but it comes with the turret press. It comes with the Lyman electronic powder dispenser. It comes with a dry tumbling setup. It comes with the Lyman trimmer, right? So virtually almost everything he needs to get up and going. And the fact that he's going to be loading a lot of 308 and 357 stuff, and his 308, he runs through an AR, right? So the fact that he's going to be running stuff in a gas gun, and then he's also loading pistol stuff like the 357, probably going to be doing a lot of crimping. And so it's one of those deals where I was like, you know what? Initially, I probably told you single stage because of the 308 aspect, but forget that. Run it through, the turret, so that way you can go back and forth, bullet seat, crimp, and it's, yeah. Turret would be a good way to go. There's significant speculation the U.S. halted a recent arms shipment to the Middle East because our stockpile is pretty low. Not being political, but high volume may be counterproductive right now. I'm not saying prepping. Yeah, you say that, you'll get... We'll say that. Store your ammo now. Buy, reload. Good kit on the Lyman. Yeah, so that was over at Duck Creek Sporting Goods. So if you guys are interested in that kit, bullets a surprise. So my buddy CW just sent me a text. I just saw it pop up. Y'all stand by. I do need to send a text. Let's see. Okay, we're back. I had to send a text, so I had to jump out real quick. We're on some stuff on stockpiles, but we will get it built up. Yeah, so yeah, CW just sent me a text. I had sent him a package of brass, 6-arc brass that I found at the range, and it was a bunch of once fired stuff. There was the factory boxes, the Hornady factory boxes were in the garbage can next to the brass bucket. And so I was pretty confident they weren't reloads, they were once fired stuff, and brought them home. There's 94 pieces of 6-arc. I was able to decap everything, get it cleaned up, and wet tumbled it and all that stuff, dried it out, and I shipped it off to CW Longshot. He's working on a 6-arc project, so I figured he could use it. Sent it to him, and then included some 6mm bullets. For the life of me, I can't remember what I sent him now, but he actually just sent me a text and said, hey, the bullets were a surprise. So good. That was the intent. Duck Creek website looks nice. Yeah. I will say, I mean, it's not the most up-to-date, like super tech savvy, well-connected website, but Denny runs a good store over there. So they're based out of Colorado. So yeah, if you can, run over there, see what all they got. And if you're local, I believe he sells powder and primers, maybe, I think. If you're local, you have to do a local pickup though. Like you actually have to go there to get the stuff. Obviously with it being in Colorado and I'm in Alabama, that ain't happening. But he has had some really hard to find stuff, like 250, 3000 Savage brass when I was looking for that a few years back for a project. And literally, I don't think anywhere on the planet had that brass. He had like 20 bags of it. Brand new Remington brass, just in stock, sitting on the shelf. So he can definitely come up with some really hard to find stuff. So if you're looking for brass, bullets, reloading stuff, die sets, reloading equipment, he's not heavy on reloading equipment. He's got a few things, but yeah, or older discontinued ammo. I know he sells that as well. Sometimes some hard to find stuff, he'll have some of that in stock from time to time. But yeah, go check out Duck Creek. No, I did not. 18 wheels. Did you see those 172 spear impacts yesterday on our favorite reloading supply site? I did not. I did not see those. That's a really good bullet though. I've got a couple boxes of the 140s in 6.5 Creedmoor, or 6.5mm that I'm gonna load in 6.5 Creedmoor. So that's actually what I'm doing right now. I got my Alabama reloader, 3D printed reloading block, reloading tray, courtesy of Reloading Quest. So shout out to him. You guys go place your orders. He'll get you 3D printed setup and all that stuff, whatever. Or if you come up with a design for something, I'm sure he'd work with you and get the thing printed. If you've got an idea for something that could be of benefit to you on your reloading bench, I'm sure he'd love to print it for you. So just reach out to him. I didn't see that though. 94 pieces of 6-arc thrown away. That shooter got an ugly. That's funny. Yeah, I was just, well, I find from time to time, I'll find Lapua brass out there. Just, I don't know. Some folks got more money than sense, but they do. They throw away good stuff. Call that a great find, most definitely. How are you doing? Doing pretty good. Sam, how are you doing? It's Monday night, so Monday evening. It is 18:45. here, so I hope everyone's doing well. So if we got a g'day mate, could probably take a guess where that individual's from. Oh wait. Oh, I am tired though. Let's see, you got the powder and the dispenser, good to go there. From Texas, exactly. It's exactly where I would have guessed. Go get you some Rudy's barbecue if you're in Texas. All right, so I got the brass prime. Now I'm just trying to think through the loads for, let's see, for the gold dot, I think we're at 42 grains of H4350, so need to get those charges dropped. I got to get a funnel though for that. Yeah, once I do that, charge weight's dropped, good to go there. So, time to grab a funnel. Probably gonna end up using this stuff too, because I mean, I probably got less than half a pound of it to go. So I might as well just use it for some of these loads. Yeah. Just throw some of that in there, see how it does. But that'll be the plan. Oh, man. Oh, Sam's from Iowa. So you got the big deer up there. The old corn-fed deer. That's what you get to hunt. Oh, California. So, U.S. countrymen, if you're in California, you need to be buying, let's see, if you're hunting, I would imagine you got to go lead-free. I'm assuming that's a statewide hunting ban there. Isn't Enduron discontinued? Yes. So they're Enduron powders. They did, from what I understand. I've heard people say that they discontinued the entire Enduron line of powders. So that would be, what is it? IMR, is it 7977, I think? 4955, I believe, is an Enduron powder. 4451. There's a few of them. But yeah, so on the lead-free bullet option out in California, you really need to be looking at McGuire Ballistics. MCGUIRE, McGuire Ballistics. Go look those guys up. Really good stuff. Pretty happy with how their 30 cal version, the 30 cal 168 grain version, performed on a 9-point this season. So he didn't take a step, dropped where he stood when I shot him. So, but yeah, Cornbread, they discontinued their Enduron stuff, so I don't know. And then also, most recently, Hodgdon announced that they have acquired RCBS. So don't know if you guys have heard that. If you have heard it, what are your thoughts on that? Be interesting to hear what everyone's thinking on that one. So that was announced, I believe, a couple of days ago. They came out on social media and posted, you know, hey, we have now acquired, effective immediately, they acquired RCBS from the Vista Outdoor Group. So we'll see. see what kind of comes of RCBS. They were under that umbrella with, Vista Outdoor. It's a massive sort of conglomerate of just outdoor products in general, outdoor brands. Vista shedding dead weight. I don't know. Is RCBS dead weight? I mean, it's a good question. Or is it politically motivated, right? Because didn't they sell off their ammunition group? So I don't know. Maybe they want to distance. Maybe they want to be in the outdoor space, but they want to distance themselves from ammunition, right? I don't know. Or the ability to make ammunition. I don't know. It's interesting. I don't really know anything beyond, hey, they acquired them. So KM, horizontally integrated, my bet is prices will go up. No, I did say that. So CW, long shot, he sent me a text. He was like, Hodgson acquired RCBS. And I responded, that was exactly my response. I said, get ready for prices to go up, since that's exactly what they've done to powder. Here lately, Vista shedding dead weight. I didn't hear that. That's interesting with their relationship with Hornady. It is, yeah. It definitely is. I love RCBS. So I don't use a ton of RCBS stuff. One of the things though that I will use, until, again, somebody wants to buy me Primal Rights bench rest competition primer cedar. Until somebody wants to buy me that, I will be rocking the RCBS. This is the universal, right? So it's got the little spring loaded jaw thing right there, hand primer, and then you just seat the primers. That's been the best priming system that I've come across. So hand priming wise, for sure. And I've tried RCBS, Lyman, Hornady, and Lee. And the RCBS Universal is, it's not even close. So much better. Kind of like Dick's Sporting Goods, KM said. Yeah, it could be. I don't know. I have no idea. Again, that's pure speculation. No clue whatsoever in terms of the motivation. It's just I had also heard that they had, not too long ago, sold off their ammunition side of the house. I really don't know. Vista is supposed to sell ammo to the Czech Republic or Czech company. Yeah, that's right. They sold off their ammunition division, or whatever you want to call it, their ammunition component. They sold that off to a company over in Czech. Yeah, Dick's Sporting Goods. They went woke, gave up their firearms section. Yeah, so I stopped. Once they did that, I was like, you know what? Me not spending money there is really not going to make a difference, but I'm going to choose not to spend my money there. So, yeah. This is middle of the road stuff. RCBS, I'm assuming you're talking about. You have the APB and it works great. RCBS bench primer, got you. Yeah, Mid-South Shooter Supply, they have free hazmat going on if you order, I believe it's $100. It's $99, so $100 worth of, what is it, like primers or powder or something like that. They've got free hazmat. I think free hazmat and free shipping, I believe. I think I saw that notification right. And if that's the case, that's just telling you, right, yeah, free hazmat, $60 a pound for IMR. So here's the thing. These prices have gone up, right, during COVID and the whole supply issue and all that. Prices went up, couldn't find the stuff, which made sense, right? But now the problem that these companies are seeing is, hey, for whatever reason, the prices have gone up yet again, right? We're supposedly over this whole pandemic supply issue. Supply is definitely coming back online. You see that more and more. Powder sitting on the shelves now. Even primers are sitting on the shelves now. You might not find exactly the one you want, but compared to where we were just a year ago, right? Primers are sitting on the shelves now. A lot of this stuff is just starting to sit and collect dust. I mean, it's stuff that you couldn't get a year and a half, 2 years ago. You couldn't find it anywhere. Well, now this stuff's sitting and collecting dust because of that right there. You're talking about 18 wheels, Cabela's, Varget 75 a pound. Yeah, and it's just going to sit there. So a lot of these companies like Mid-South, they're going to be like, okay, we got to start doing something to try to push this product. We got to get this stuff off our shelves because now it's just sitting here. The prices are to a point where, you know, the consumers are not going to continue to spend $75, or they're not going to spend $75 for a pound of powder. So we got to do something. Well, now we got to start offering free shipping and free hazmat. You know, they're going to start doing that again. So yeah, we'll see what comes of it. But the more that stuff just sits on the shelf, I mean, you know, you'll start to see companies like Mid-South doing exactly what they're doing and offering, you know, trying to incentivize people to go out and buy that stuff. You've been running that RCBS primer for 15 years, somewhere around 60,000 rounds loaded. Yeah, I've had this one I might have picked it up in 2018. It was a pretty early purchase for me in terms of me getting into the hobby and reloading. I did use the Lee for a while. That's probably the one I've used the second most, other than this RCBS. And it did pretty good. It did. But what I liked about the RCBS, why I eventually just broke down and bought it, was, you know, it doesn't require a shell holder. It's got those spring-loaded universal jaws, so that was really nice. And that was why I went with it, and it's been great ever since. So yeah, that's, you know, we'll see how the whole price increase thing continues to affect the powder and primer market. I mean, like I said, primers are sitting on the shelf too because those things are super expensive. But powder especially, like, you know, them coming out and saying, hey, by the way, we're gonna have to increase our cost, our price on powder. And then you go and you look and powder that, you know, you used to be able to buy for, dog's going nuts, powder that you used to be able to buy for 35 bucks a pound, it's now, you know, $70, $75 a pound. A lot of people are not going to jump on that, so they're going to be holding off, or they're going to be looking for cheaper alternatives in terms of powder. You know, maybe they find a powder that's not exactly the one they want, but they can find one that's going to get the job done and it's more reasonably priced, so they go with that. Like Superformance, right? Hodgdon Superformance. That's a powder that works great in 270 Winchester. I haven't had as good a luck in 6.5 Creedmoor as I have had in the 270, but it's done good enough to where it would be acceptable for hunting purposes. So I would go pick up that powder before I went and, you know, overpaid for something like H4350 or whatever. So. I gotta get this scope mounted up. Money's in Midwest Powders. So hope I can make them perform. Yeah, so, what is it? I've got the Reloader 19 equivalent. And so we'll see. We'll see, right? I've got the MP 620. And we'll see how that stuff works, right? I mean, I don't know. Adios, KM. Yeah, I got to get this thing mounted up on the 270, this Hawk. It's the Vantage, whatever, Vantage 30. I'm assuming that's wide angle WA illuminated reticle. So 2.5 to 10 by 50. Looking forward to getting it mounted up. Super clear glass, so should be pretty good. Pretty good hunting option at least. What's going on, Shane? Stand by. Did you show the rifle since you have it re-barreled? No, and I would love to do that, but I don't think I can actually touch a firearm when I'm doing a live stream. I'm pretty sure that violates all sorts of different types of YouTube, this, that, and the other. So there's gonna be a boatload of videos on it though. So just be patient, Sean. Now, one thing, so I did mention this earlier on in the on the live stream. So we were shocked, but we were able to spin the barrel off that Remington action, the 243, spun it off, got the Christensen Arms Mesa barrel spun on there. The thing head spaced. It was crazy. We got it torqued down and it head spaced properly. Evening, man. CW. Hey, so the reason why I sent you that text, CW, is yeah. There you go. So thought you would like that. Picked up a Hawk Vantage 30, 30 wide angle. I'm assuming that's WA wide angle, illuminated reticle, 2.5 to 10 by 50. So pick that up. But yeah, there's going to be a ton of videos, Sean, about that rifle. And we got to come up with a name, right? Because right now it's just a Frankenstein of a gun. I've got it in the AG Composites carbon fiber stock. Now the barrel channel is super wide on that thing because it was actually that stock. Man, the dog is going nuts on his new toy. But the stock was actually made for a Remington 700 Tactical and 300 Blackout with more of a bull barrel, right? So the barrel channel's pretty big on that stock. But at any rate, I mean, hopefully the thing will shoot well, right? We got it put together and head spaced, you know, bolt closed on the go, didn't close on the no-go. It was insane, but the thing head spaced, you know, like it was supposed to. So yeah, I can't wait either, Sean. So I picked up some of this stuff just for that. This is the Hornady Match 147 grain with their ELDM, 147 grain ELDM bullet, 6.5 Creed. So I picked this stuff up to shoot instead of trying to burn some hand loads through it, because of course everything was torn apart. Now we got it put together. So I've got to get it back bore sided, get the scope zeroed, the whole, you know, all that fun stuff. So I got to do that. Man. So I picked up the box of factory ammo just to do that with. So, oh yeah, CW. That's I've had a couple of Hawk scopes in the past, but they've been more of the budget. I say budget, but some of their lower end options, which have been really nice. I mean, the glass is still really clear, but this is more of a step up over what I've purchased in the past. And so I picked this up actually at Midway Pistol and Ammo out in Gurley, Alabama. So I mentioned them earlier on the live stream. You guys go check them out. If you're ever coming through, you know, the area, North Alabama, and you happen to be traveling by, go see them. But that's also where I picked up these targets. So it's got their little logo right there on the top. These are printed by a local company here with kind of heavy duty card stock, which is nice. Leaves really good bullet holes, not like paper where it tears. But yeah, picked up that Hawk Vantage. Oh, wish Jeff said, yeah. Are you done? Are you done? Like he's in here body slamming that thing. Let's see. Jeff said, wish you had done some heavy for caliber 243 before pulling it. Yeah, you know, I had thought about that, but, you know, it is what it is. So it was just one of those things where I'd gotten the barrel in. I was talking with my buddy Matt that owns Mr. Big Guns in Huntsville, and they're not a gunsmith by any means. I also mentioned that early in the live stream. They're simply a gun store, and he happens to have a barrel vise in the back, and he was nice enough to let me use it to see if we could break the barrel loose and spin the new one on. So that's what we did. But yeah, you know, trying some heavy for cal stuff in 243 Win, because I had a 1 8 twist barrel on it, and I still have the barrel. I mean, it's, you know, definitely something we could spin on another Remington 700 or take this barrel off. And that's the thing too, like, we've got it spun on there in a headspace properly. That don't mean the thing's gonna shoot worth a flip, right? This is supposedly a brand new Christensen Arms Mesa barrel. I got it all cleaned up today, scrubbed the thing, got it cleaned up. So now it's literally ready to hit the range, and we'll see how it shoots. Huh? Oh, you see somebody out there, you wanna go mess with them. But that was one of the reasons why I wanted to pick up a box of quote unquote pretty good factory ammunition, right? This is not just the cheap run of the mill stuff. I just want to see if it'll shoot this well, right? If it doesn't, we'll see, right? But it should shoot that factory stuff halfway decent, I would think. So yeah, we'll see. And it might be, hey, we go and we try. That's what I'm doing tonight, actually. I'm gonna load up a bunch of hand loads of stuff that has shot well in the past with a couple of other rifles chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor. And if it doesn't shoot any of this stuff worth a flip, then it might be a pretty short-lived project, right? We go, all right, didn't work, tear that barrel off, spin the 243 right back on. There are some, you know, teeth marks from the pipe wrench that we used on the 243 barrel, but it's not gonna hurt anything. We just turn around, spin it right back on, put it back to original configuration, and, you know, we test 243, no big deal. So that's definitely something we could do, because it's got that 1 8 twist. So we could go heavy on 243 if we wanted to. Yeah, you've got, Shane's got 2 Hawk scopes. You've had no problems with them. I've had a couple, and then I've got, oh yeah, he's trying to, there's something outside. There's something outside bugging you, ain't it? Yeah, I got the blinds open, so he's checking out everything. But yeah, I haven't really had any issues with Hawk scopes either. I got rid of the ones I had, not for any particular reason. I just did at the time, and then saw this one. And that's the good thing too. Midway Pistol and Ammo, he is now a distributor. Mark, he's the owner over there. He's a distributor now for Hawk optics, which is nice. You can just walk right in the store, get your hands on them, check them out, and then walk out with one instead of having to order it and wait on it. So yeah, you've had very good luck with them, CW. Yeah, so I'm really wanting to, Cornbread, I want to try to get this project, I want to give it the best opportunity to succeed. So, you know, that's why we're starting with not necessarily the top of the line. I wouldn't consider Hornady match ammunition to be the top of the line, but we're starting with really good stuff. My hand loads are going to be made with Lapua brass, right? Small primer stuff with CCI 450 Magnum primers, using H4350 powder, using really good components. So I really want to try to give this thing every opportunity to shoot well. But if it doesn't, then we'll take that barrel right back off. Right, and we'll put the original one back on it. So, what vise are you using to spin barrels? So we used over there. He's got a Short Action Customs, so that's what we used, and it worked great. That's literally the first time I've ever done a barrel swap. So if you've been following along with some of the videos I've posted talking about it, I went from never purchasing an aftermarket barrel to buying 2 within a week. So, yeah. Now the second one, that's a long-term project. That's going to be one that's taken to a gunsmith because it has to be the whole 9, right? It's just a 7mm blank. So it's going to be it's going to have to be chambered and all that stuff. So that's a much longer down the road timeline and project because that's going to require more of that. So, which after buying 2 barrels, that budget is completely gone. So there's no more of that to put towards the second barrel. So it's going to have to sit and collect dust for a little while. But that was the hope with this Mesa barrel from Christensen Arms, was that we would get it, and it's for a Remington 700 action. And if we crossed our fingers just right, then maybe it would headspace and we could just do a barrel swap and we would have the 6.5 Creedmoor up and going. And we got lucky and it worked out that way because I mean, there's so much that goes into the machining and the tolerances and the tolerance stack up and the whole 9 yards that I was really surprised that it had spaced. So I'm thankful that it did. Okay, you shoot a Gen 1 RPR and 243 Win. Heavy is awesome. Good deal. Yeah, zero compromise. If you can afford it, buy you a zero compromise. I mean they make what, like 2 models of scopes. That's when you know you're basically at pretty much almost the top end, right? Like, hey, yeah, we make optics, but we make like one. You either buy it or you don't. You either pay $4,000 or you don't. Like, we don't care. We're gonna make this, and this is all we're gonna make, and you can buy it or you can don't buy it. Either way, like that's when you know you make a pretty good product. So expensive but amazing pieces of work. I bet they are. That would be probably a really good setup. Would be something like LaRue Tactical. Was it the Siete? I believe I'm pronouncing that right. Rifle that he came out with and launched last year, I think it was. You go and buy that. That rifle's like $4,000, $3,600, something like that. Bolt action. Go buy that. Go buy the zero compromise scope to go on top, and you're good to go. Shouldn't have to buy anything else. Use CCI 400 primers, you'll get better standard deviation. That's definitely something we could test because not only do I have the 450s, a decent amount of those, but I've got a decent amount of the 400s. So we could actually test that. Okay, you think they're doing 3 now? Right, exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. They're doing, yeah, they do a 4 to 20. I know they came out with, yeah, that was that LPVO or whatever that 1 to 7 is. I think that was their latest one or their newest one that they came out with, I believe. I think they were jumping on kind of more of the LPVO bandwagon and trying to fill that void. I don't even want to say it's a void because everybody and their brother makes one, but they started offering one. Yeah, the stuff they make it's really, really good stuff. So go get you one of those, go get you a Schmidt and Bender, a Tangent Theta. You buy one of those scopes and you shouldn't have to buy anything else. So, or you could get a Valdata. Yeah, go buy you a Valdata. Keep it small and do it well. I ate at a place in Gatlinburg, Tennessee with almost that exact mantra this past weekend. I was up there, stopped by a place called the Old Mill Restaurant, and they serve breakfast from like 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. They have a small lunch menu, but the breakfast menu is pretty small as well. They offer a few things, but man, every bit of it was good. Biscuits and gravy and all that. Bacon, sausage, eggs, grits, good stuff. And it was all good. The Old Mill is amazing. It was pretty good. I feel like that would be a very consistent meal because the menu is so, there's not a ton of options. Like you literally pick just a handful of things. And, you know, so I mean, and I even asked them, I was like, how many biscuits do y'all make a day? And they do. They've got a section where you can walk in and you can just watch them sitting there making biscuits by hand from scratch. And so I asked them, I was like, hey, how many biscuits y'all make a day? They were like, around 2,000. So. Richard. I've heard of them, never been there though. Was stationed kind of close there at Fort Campbell. Yeah, that was the first time I'd ever been. We were up there, I was just looking for a place to eat, and that place popped up, and they've got thousands upon thousands of reviews, and they're all good. So it's like, sure, might as well. Need more of those places these days. Real food, not this pre-made crap. Oh, I agree. I agree. Stand by. Let's see. Are we back? Is it running? Yeah, it's back running. Did you check out the crime museum? No, did not. Oh, thanks. Slower burn rate powder with the 243 heavy for caliber stuff. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. But then, so if you're going to go heavy 243, would you not be better off just doing a 6 Creed at that point? So, you know. What powder am I currently using for 243? Well, right now I ain't using nothing for 243 because I just took the barrel off of the only 243 that I had. So, but I was using, I was gonna try some Midwest powders, their MP 620, which is somewhat of a clone of Reloader 19. So. Okay, the Rim 700 6mm with his drops written on the stock at the Crime Museum. Interesting. Jeff said no. Just keep running the heavy 243. Yeah, so I was planning on working on some 243 stuff, but then I came across at J&A Outdoors, came across a Christensen Arms Mesa barrel that was essentially, I don't know how they get them, but I did call J&A to make sure that it was a brand new barrel, and it was. It'd just been test fired at Christensen Arms. So I ordered that. It's in 6.5 Creed. I'm a big fan of that cartridge. And so once that barrel came in, it was like, all right, so Remington 700 action is what it's threaded for. So pull off the 243 and see if it threads on there in head spaces, which it did. So that was nice. So now, just got to get everything situated and ready to hit the range with that Frankenstein setup now. So, see if it shoots. Hopefully it will. And if it doesn't, then we'll pull that barrel and we'll go back to 243. And because I've already got some hand loads ready. So. Try some 4831 shortcut, but he swears by it. I have some of that, I believe. I think I've got a couple of pounds of that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. For 243, to be honest with you, I believe he's just a lab mix. I don't know. Still a puppy. He is not even a year old. So. Yeah, he keeps me on my toes. He always loves when he loves when the neighbors come out and start wandering around their yards and cutting grass and all that stuff, because he likes to sit at the window and watch them. So okay, in 243, got you. So Jeff said the fastest for 243 would be hybrid 100V, which I did pick up a couple pounds of that here recently. Slowest is H1000, and you have run Rotumbo for 243. Jeez, that seems pretty slow. But you did say you were shooting heavy. Great Dane. It's a big dog. You run Varget and IMR 4831. So I ran IMR 4831 in 7 rim mag, and it was shooting amazingly well with the what's up MCK? What was it? The 150 ballistic tips, I believe. Nosler ballistic tips in 7 rim mag. It was shooting really, really well with IMR 4831. And that was in a Remington 770. So those, dirt cheap budget Remington 770s. I do kind of regret getting rid of that particular rifle, not because of how awesome it was, but how amazingly well it shot. I probably should have held on to that one. H4831 and IMR 7828. I keep seeing 7828 popping up. I just can't find any to buy, but I would like to get some of that. And Sean said in 6mm rim. IMR 3031. Man, that's another powder that is expensive, by the way. IMR 3031 for you in 243, but you concentrate on lights for coyotes and bobcats. Got it. Yeah, so I've only ever seen, it's interesting, you mentioned bobcats. I've only seen 2 bobcats in my life while hunting, and I saw them a week apart from each other. And I actually killed one of them. I got him hanging up in the wall out in my building. So, but before that and after that, I've never seen another one, and that was crazy. I mean, I've been in the woods most of my life, and I've only seen 2. So, and they were a week apart. It was interesting. But IMR 4350. Yeah, that's good luck. You want to go buy that stuff, shell out about $75 a pound. You were using Mag Pro and 197 grain bullets in your 7 SAUM. That's one of the cartridges that I kind of have it narrowed down to. Like I was talking about that other barrel, the second barrel, that's a 7mm. I'm pretty sure I've got it narrowed down basically 100% to the cartridge that I'm actually gonna choose. But the 7 SAUM was in my top 3. So it was 280 Ackley, 7 Wisdom, and 7 SAUM. Those were my top 3. So, and I believe there is a company now out in Montana, I think, that is selling 7 Wisdom ammo, by the way, in case anyone's wondering. Jeff said H1000, 22-250 Ackley, 88 grain going 32. That's cooking with an 88 grain. Only ever saw one when I caught it on my game camera in Florida. Never seen one in real life. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't believe it, and shot the second one. So, all right, Cornbread. Yeah, we'll see you on the next one. God bless, brother. I appreciate you stopping in. I appreciate everybody stopping in, even the people that leave extremely stupid comments that I'm not going to read live. You still took the time to comment, and you're counted as a view and engagement via YouTube's analytics, and which really helps out my channel. So I appreciate every bit of it. I lost the biggest one I've ever seen this year. Needless to say, I don't hunt in cold weather with an AR anymore. Oh man. Yeah, that's got to sting though. Especially you saw the biggest bobcat you've ever seen, or coyote, either one, and all of a sudden you pull the trigger and it just goes click. Not a good feeling. Sean, 100 grains, Sierra Spitzer, flat base, 43 grains, IMR 4350 and 6 rim. So Sean, you and CW Longshot would get together, or y'all would get along really well because he's a 6 rim guy as well. Was a great load in every 6mm you've ever shot. IMR 4350, I mean, that's a good powder. It's a really good Creedmoor powder too. I believe you can get just a touch more velocity than H4350, I think, if I remember right. Oh, okay. John's using, what's going on, John? He's shooting the 100 grain Hornady Interbond. See, I've never been able to actually, I've seen Interbond bullets from time to time. I've never bought them and actually tried them. I should, if I can find them, or if I see them available. I need to try to pick some up. See how they do. 46 to 47 grains of H1000 with a 100 grain Hornady Interbond, and your 243 is a great whitetail load. Yeah, and the 243 is like, I mean, that's such a classic, in my opinion, very classic whitetail cartridge all day long. I mean, you want to go kill whitetail, 243, load it up and stack them up. I mean, it'll get the job done every time. You'd like to try the Winchester stay ball powder. So I have 6.5, and I need to put more emphasis on testing that more thoroughly, which I probably will do with this new Frankenstein setup we got going on. I've tested them a little bit. I did find, or I had decent performance with the 120 grain tip TSX, the Barnes with stay ball 6.5. But in terms of accuracy in the loads that I've tried or the bullets I've tested with it, in 6.5, I haven't really seen anything that just would make me go, oh, I need to load that up over H4350 or some other powder, right? So, Jeff, your daughter has the 6 rim and love it. It's easy to load for. You'd like Triton 270 Winchester. Yeah, should be a pretty good option. If you need a powder in 270 Winchester, go buy Hodgdon Superformance. That is the powder to use in 270 Winchester. Stay ball works well for me in 6.5 Creed. Use a 130 Norma Golden bullet. Got you. That's their match, isn't it? I believe their Golden is their match bullet. I haven't really tried any Norma bullets either, so that's another thing. Now, in the 7mm stuff that I picked up from American Reloading, AmericanReloading.com, I've got a lot of Federal terminal ascent, trophy bonded, or whatever those are called, and the trophy copper, I think, maybe, something like that. But those are really going to be the focus of that 7mm project once I get it up and going. It's really going to be to load those terminal ascent. That and some Barnes 160s and 175s, TSX bullets. Yeah, if accuracy isn't there, the 100 or so feet per second isn't worth it. Yeah, true. Yeah, exactly. It's all about trade-offs, right? I mean, if you want to bump up your velocity, which for me in the distances that I shoot, especially for hunting applications, I could definitely bump up the velocity. I mean, 1.5-inch groups, even 2-inch groups, I would kill deer with the distances that I shoot. So, that's not really, I don't necessarily put a premium on how small the group is. Obviously, I want to try to shrink that group size as much as possible, and I want to see good performance, but if we're inch and a half consistently, right? Because I go out and I test these loads multiple times at the range, and if that cold bore shot and I'm still right there in my inch and a half and I'm good to go, I don't really have anything else to complain about. It'll get the job done all day long. Jeff, it's a 788 Remington. Oh, sticky firing pin. Sean has a 6mm Remington and a 222 Remington, varmint and 788. Nice. Yeah, after JRB posted those videos of the 788 that he has in 22-250, I started looking into buying one of those just because he was posting videos about it, but never did. Okay, yeah, must have got some oil, carbon in there, 0-degree weather, just didn't have enough movement to hit the primer hard enough. Yeah. Are you hunting with the American Reload? So the American Reloading, the seconds and the pulled bullets that they sell. So I will at some point get around to hunting with those. For the 270 stuff, I did, when I got that big shipment of bullets, this was back, I think last year, maybe 2 years ago at this point. But when I got all those in, I did go through the process of sorting the Barnes bullets that I got in 277 diameter. So I did sort those by, I believe, weight. Yeah. And then next I would sort them by, because there's some that have more visible pull marks than others. Some look like they were never even touched. So I would go through and actually sort them, before I just loaded them up and shot them randomly. I would definitely, those are bullets that I would sort and go through a lot of time and effort to make sure I sort them out best of my abilities to make sure that, just because they're seconds or they're pulled or whatever, that's not causing an issue on target. And then I wouldn't hesitate to go hunt with them. So. 18 wheels. I shoot matches with American Reloading stuff. I mean, yeah, and that's the thing. Like a lot of the stuff I got from them, there's some stuff with very deep, visible pull marks, and yeah, I'm gonna use those for siders, or I'm gonna use those, whatever, right? Like what we're doing with this project. If I had American Reloading 6.5 bullets, then I wouldn't have went and bought this stuff. I would have just loaded up some of those and went and shot them, right? But I don't have any of those, and I didn't really want to shoot my hand load, so we're going to baseline with the factory ammo. But okay, Jeff said she won't sell it to me, so I gave her my BAR 2 and 30-06. Two worst sounds in life. Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, BAR MK2, nice rifle. Also, I'd love to have one. Well, that's that's the problem though, old McDonald, is you got to run ARs wet, supposedly, right? I think that's how you're supposed to run them. So you got to oil them down. You got to, when you're out running them, I mean, they like to run wet. So it's part of the problem, I guess, maybe before you go hunt. Right, yeah. 18 wheels. Exactly. There's just a lot more stuff going on in a gas gun versus a bolt action, Sean said for bolt guns, use graphite for bolts when it's cold. Luckily here in Alabama, it's, I think the coldest that I've ever, in terms of temperature that I've ever gone hunting in Alabama, I believe it was 4 degrees. This was last year, close to Christmas. Not this past season, but the season before. It was 4 degrees was the high. And the wind chill, it was, down in the like -12. And me and my buddy, of course, we were stupid enough to go hunt. He killed a doe, so it actually turned out to be a great day. But we were probably just a handful of people that were in the woods that day in Alabama. You've had a bolt freeze on you. Jeff said he told her she can't sell it. So is there a reloading system that is universal to all rounds to where you just have to replace the die and be able to reload 9mm to 5.56? Well, I mean, pretty much any press manufacturer nowadays, I actually need to dump some powder. Pretty much any press manufacturer nowadays, I mean, all those presses, Lyman, Hornady, RCBS, Redding, they're all the same thread pitch and pattern, so they're gonna accept those, I can't think, was it 7/8, whatever, dies and stuff. They're gonna accept all that, so you just go buy you a press and swap out the just get a die for each cartridge you want to load, and then you're good to go. Hunted hogs for some farmers that were local. Nice. Live in a colder state. Oh, the crap out of my bolt carrier and even the bolt itself a touch, so I'm gonna have to test my, yeah, oh yeah, exactly. See, and that's what's nice too about the range that I go to, with it being like 8 minutes from my house. So I test stuff all year long, right? Like especially hunting loads, you know, primarily in colder weather, but even during hunting season. I know a lot of people that they only hunt during hunting season. Like they'll shoot their gun a few times, make sure it's still zeroed and all that, and then that's it. And then they hunt, and then they clean them and they put them up. It's like, for me, I just, because I test so much and I enjoy doing that, I want to make sure that these loads perform at different temperatures throughout hunting season, right? Because Alabama's hunting season, you can have a pretty wide range of temperature from when gun season actually starts, which is, I believe, maybe like the third weekend in November, and it goes all the way through February 10th for most of the state. So I mean, you're talking, you can get a pretty wide temperature swing from then until the end of, you know, to the end of the season. So it's just good to make sure you test and validate, and I enjoy doing that throughout the entire season. So I'm constantly going to the range. If I'm not hunting, you know, I'll run down to the range if I got a little bit of time and go just make sure, validate, check everything's still good to go. Okay, Richard, you got an AR down to -14 in Afghanistan where you were at. Can always work for you, thankfully. Yeah, no kidding. Thankfully. That's kind of one of those situations where it has to work, because you're shooting at man-sized bobcats, not bobcat-sized bobcats. So, I was living in Alaska. I lubed my AR bolt carrier group with a 50-50 mix of transmission fluid and Mobil 1 motor oil. There you go. Kevin said, is it absolutely necessary to use a chrono when reloading? No, it is not absolutely necessary to use a chronograph when reloading, because I didn't use one for a long time. Now, what I will say is that having a chronograph is a huge benefit to obviously understanding how the load is performing, whether, you know, because just like me and Reloading Quest, another YouTuber here recently, we were both loading for 25-06 Remington. Something is going on with Hornady's load data for the 90 grain GMX, because like my velocities were so far and away above what the manual was projecting and showing in terms of, which of course those are all just references. I got it, depending on all these different variables, so on and so forth, yada, yada, yada. It ain't my first rodeo. I got it. I know all that. But like the discrepancy was pretty large. So that's where a chronograph really comes in handy when you start to, when you're working up loads or you're testing maybe a powder that they don't necessarily have listed in their manual, but maybe you're referencing another source of information. And just having that chronograph can really benefit you to understand how that load is actually performing. So yeah, it's not necessary by any means. You can go out, you can load up ammo, go out, shoot it. If it performs good and you're not really seeing any signs of pressure, then have at it. You just don't know what the velocity is, but oh well. So it's not exactly a necessity. Richard, you ran it dry in the winter and wet in the summer. Never heard one freeze after running with that mixture before you were using Lucas oils and they froze up. Okay. I'm assuming Hudge. That's how you say that. Said Lucas oils would freeze up in his ARs, or he had heard that they would. That gun will take any ammo, hand load. They said to use synthetics. No, Daniel, I have not been to the CMP range in Talladega. But I know that if you are into M1 Garands and all that stuff, then you need to go check that place out. I think they have a big stockpile, or at least they did at one time, that you can go down there and pick you one out. So working on the gold dot load, 42 grains H4350. So this is the 140 Spear gold dot load. Okay, 18 Wheel said he had a buddy tell him the same thing, run it dry in the winter and wet in the summer. Sean never used graphite on AR, but bolt guns, yes. You said it correctly, that was me using the Lucas oils and -15. Got you, okay. So Lucas oil and -15 and it'll freeze, so don't do that. For those of you guys who are running around in cold weather. Georgia boy over here. Roll Tide. So yeah, so it's not a necessity, but if you are looking at getting a chronograph, then I would highly recommend the Garmin Zero. I know it's 600 bucks. I got it. It ain't cheap. I know that. But I ran a Caldwell, the little Caldwell, kind of like the cheap shoot through chronograph that you got to go set up and shoot through it and all that stuff. I ran one of those for a long time. I've run the Magneto Speed Sporter chronograph that you attach to the end of your barrel. So I've run those two styles, and the Garmin is well worth the money. For me, just because I shoot so much and I reload a lot and I'm always testing stuff, the amount of data that I'm now able to gather every single range trip is far more, like far and away better than what I used to be able to gather, right? Because before, With the magneto speed, I would either be testing for group size or I'd be testing for velocity, because I couldn't do both, because once you hang that magneto speed off the end of your barrel, it does change how that rifle system works. It just does, okay? So I don't care who you are, debate that all you want to, but it does have an effect on that particular rifle system once you attach something to the end of the muzzle. So for me, if I was testing group size, obviously I would leave that off to see how the gun actually shot. And then if I found a group that shot really well and I validated yet again, like I go back, I reload it, that's, you know, that same load, it shoots well again, then I would go and load some up to test, okay, what is the velocity? Well, you start to burn through more components doing that. And now, because I have the Garmin, I just set it up and I'm getting velocity data and group data all at once, which is nice. So 2 thumbs up on the Garmin. Or you can go lab radar, or you can buy the new Caldwell radar version, right? Chronograph, I think that they came out with. Okay, those M1s are picked over now, like the 1911. Got it. Love to have an M1 Grand. Wish we could own M14s. Thought about getting an M1A. Like the removable mag. Is there a book that you would recommend to learn to reload for an absolute beginner? So if you're wanting a book, any of the bullet manufacturers, right? So Hornady, Spear, Berger, Lyman, they have a manual as well. They're big into the lead casting stuff. They've got some lead cast data in theirs, which is nice if you go that route. But Nosler, Hornady, Spear, Sierra, any of those bullet manufacturers, they make a reloading manual, and generally the front section, and it's a pretty thick front section, is nothing but how to reload, step by step, what to do, how to do it, why to do it that way, so on and so forth. So for you, Thomas, literally you can go pick up any reloading manual from a bullet manufacturer, and it's a how-to guide on reloading. So now from there, what I would tell you is go watch Johnny's Reloading Bench on YouTube. In my opinion, he's the gold standard of just reloading content and walking you through how to do stuff. So there are a ton of other great videos or a ton of great, you know, reloading content creators and all that. But I like JRB stuff. He's really one of the main reasons why I even started a channel to begin with, was because of the videos he posted. Now I think he's done posting on YouTube. I don't think he's really gonna post anymore. So no new content, but he has so many videos out there. Just go check out his stuff and watch some of his how-to videos, because a lot of it, especially bottleneck rifle stuff, it's gonna apply across multiple cartridges and all that. So it's a good step-by-step. So I would start there. Go get you a good reloading manual, like one I just mentioned, Hornady, RCBS, or Hornady, not RCBS, but Hornady, Berger, Spear, Sierra. Sierra would be a good one to go get, and just start reading, so, and watching JRB. Does anyone else build loads on a single stage press then mass produce on a progressive, or is it just me? I'm sure a lot of people do, but I only have a single stage. I got the Mech Marksman. That's the only press I have. So Johnny is awesome. Yes, he is. Lee second edition is a great guide. Yeah, Lee has a reloading manual as well that's really good, because Lee, what they did with their manual is they basically compiled a lot of data from multiple manuals. They basically pulled that data together and put it in one manual. So it's actually a really good manual to have. If you don't have it, it's good to pick it up. Yep, you're welcome, Thomas, anytime. Yeah, there's so many other people out on YouTube that are way better at showing that kind of stuff than I am. But yeah, I would definitely start off with a good manual. Shane said he's the man. Yeah, JRB is the man. I hate he's gonna kind of give up YouTube though. Man, I hate that. Jeff, Daniel, I live close to Talladega CMP. CW, 48 people is good on you. Yeah, good on the 45 now people that feel like wasting their Monday evening listening to me. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Lee just copies others' data. Yeah, they don't have their own. Exactly. They compile data from other sources and just print the manual. And yeah, I mentioned Lyman. So Lyman makes a good manual, especially if you want to be like CW and get into cast. Because if you do get into cast bullets, or you are thinking about casting your own bullets, then you have to go watch CW Longshot, because that dude is, me and him, we've been friends for a while now. He reached out to me, he still does, but comments a lot of good stuff on my videos. And we've sent stuff back and forth to each other too, as far as bullets, brass, all that. I'm glad you got the brass and the bullets. So, but yeah, CW has forgotten more about casting bullets than you'll probably ever learn. So just, if you're into that kind of thing, or you even want to learn about it, his channel is the one to go check out for sure. So, yeah, I appreciate everything you put out, CW. You like I said, I've gotten into a habit now. So my expectation is when I get up in the morning, I've got to have a CW video, and that's what I go watch first, right? So you got to keep those videos coming. 18 wheels and dozen 6-shooter, smash that like button. Yeah, and even if there's a dislike button, you can smash that one as well, because the YouTube algorithms, they just love the engagement. So either that or that, I don't care, doesn't bother me. Lyman doesn't make powder, bullets, or primers, so you get good mix popular. Yeah, so yep, exactly. Lyman makes equipment, right? So they don't make powder. And that's the thing too, like when you go and watch, that's another thing. If you go and watch Little Crow Gun Works, I recommended this early on in the live stream, go watch their YouTube channel. They break down, he's showing, hey, Hodgdon, you can get there. They put out almost like a magazine format manual once a year. And typically there's a new powder on the cover. Well, of course, you go to whatever cartridge that powder is good for, and naturally that powder is the top performer for that cartridge. So, and he was making a good point. Like, look, these guys, their whole job is to make powder and sell powder. Of course, they're going to have the data and show that, oh, this is the one you need to go buy, right? When in reality, it might not be the best powder for that cartridge, right? And he was walking through it using Gordon's reloading tool and kind of showing you that way. So it was neat to watch. You guys need to go follow along. But oh, you're making June videos now. Good night. Holy cow. See, that blows my mind. People that have the ability to actually make videos in advance, because that don't happen with me. Like you guys, you get a live stream, it's because I got a little bit of time to myself when I can do a live stream, right? Or if I make a video, it's because I got 5 or 10 minutes here or there to just pick my phone up, film, and then hit upload to YouTube. That's it. Like almost never do I have the ability to make, or at least I don't think to make videos in advance and then go through that process. So yeah, keep them coming. Yeah, and that's the reason why I picked this up today. So it's your fault. It's your fault, CW. So doing those videos on Hawk, after I got rid of the ones I had, I was like, man, I really want to get another Hawk scope. So picked up that one today. It's your fault. Oh, let me go back. Now I'm going to do 40. I'm going to load up some Hornady 160 grain round nose in the Creedmoor. So that with H4350, that's actually a combination that has shot really well for me in the past. So But yeah, I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. We do, CW. It's quite a bit of people here this evening, and it has been for quite a while. So, but like I was telling them, I think it was maybe last week or the week before I was doing a live stream. Everybody's got to go run over to the Georgia Shooting Connection on Friday night. That is another live stream that you guys got to jump on. I am CW. You need to let Jamie know May 31st. That's the one that I should be available for, May 31st. So you can send me the invite to join the panel for that Friday. So that's my plan. Can you still get those bullets? I have a box or two left. I don't know if you can actually get them in 6.5. I know they still make like the 220 grain version in 30 cal. I see those in stock, brand new. The 6.5, I don't know. I think they do. I could be wrong though. The ones that I have are some. They're the bulk package, Midway USA bulk package, kind of like a repack deal that I bought a few years back, and I've just had them sitting on my reloading bullet shelf for that amount of time. I had tested with 40 grains of H4350 in a previous rifle in 6.5 Creedmoor with that 160 grain bullet. It was doing 2,500 feet per second. So not bad, 160 grain bullet and 6.5 Creed, 2,500 feet per second, MOA accuracy. So, and 1 inch, basically, roughly 1 inch group sizes at 100 yards. Killed a doe with it, with that particular load. So, yeah, it shot well when I've tested it in the past. So, we'll try it in this setup, see if it shoots good. We need you on that. Yeah, I'll be on there May 31st. That's my plan. You've got 9mm, 5.56, and 308. Is there a reloading system you recommend? For that, you're probably, well, I guess, again, it all goes like we've been talking about. It just depends on what you're trying to do. If you're wanting to just go do mag dumps or load bulk ammo, you're really better off getting a progressive setup. I mean, just at the end of the day. Now, you can go expensive and get like a Dillon and just do your tool head changes if you want to do that for your cartridge conversions or whatever. But I mean, those three, the 9mm and the 5.56 probably for sure. I would imagine that's more bulk stuff. 308, I don't know if that's like a hunting setup you've got or if you're running a AR-10 and you just want to do mag dumps with it too. But progressive would be the way to go, because otherwise, if you're trying to load bulk ammo on a single stage, you can do it, but man, it's going to take a long time. Unless you've got just a ton of, like, you go and buy a bunch of new brass. If you've got to process your brass, if you're starting with all brand new stuff and you're just going to load it up that way, single stage would be not as painful. But if you've got to sit there and do all the brass prep with like a bunch of once fired stuff, just thinking of doing that on a single stage, it would not be fun. Nathan, if you want to get crazy, go Dillon and just get a progressive. Yeah, exactly. Jeff says try slower powdered for the 6.5, need more for the heavy for caliber bullet. CW said that's about perfect. I don't know what's about perfect, but since you said it, I'll take your word for it. Get an RC. I'm behind. I start rambling and you guys leave comments and I don't know what we've moved on to. So, and I'm dumping powder. Don't forget, go pick up your 3D printed custom reloading block. So this one says Alabama Reloader. Shout out to Reloading Quest. He also has a YouTube channel and a Etsy, I think it's Etsy, account where he sells his 3D printing stuff. So reloading oriented, of course. Nathan said get a RCBS or Hornady single stage to proof the loads, then transfer to the Dillon to make a bunch. Yeah, you could definitely go that route too, right? You could find a good load using a single stage, and then once you find a good load, you could transition to high volume if you wanted to. It's an AR-10. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. So progressive would be the way to go. CW, that bullet opens fast and at lower velocities than most. Okay, the 160. Yeah, it was it was going 25 out of the rifle I was testing it in, which I believe was a Savage 110 tactical. It was going 25 right at 2,500 feet per second with that 40 grain charge. So, but that's also, and it was shooting really well. Like some of the groups were half inch, so anywhere from half inch to an inch was my normal group size with that bullet. But that was in a gun that I had to basically try to make it shoot bad. Again, one of the most accurate factory rifles I've ever owned, ever. It shot all things well. So, Nathan, I reload all those on my Dillon, and it's for an AR-10. Yeah, see, exactly. If you're gonna go bulk gas gun, or you just want to like load bulk ammunition to have on hand, then yeah, progressive is just it's the way to go. It really is. And you can go on the cheap side of progressive. You can get like a Lee setup if you wanted to, right? It's all in the budget and how you want to handle it. So, or you can go with a Dillon. CW said about everyone offers a pretty good system. I'd only suggest Lee if you're not going to load a lot or often. If you're planning on loading a lot, buy once, cry once. Yeah, exactly, that too. Whatever you can factor in, or whatever you can fit into your budget. And if you need to hold off and wait a little bit on getting started to save up a little bit more to then buy like that Dillon system, like people are referencing, to, and saying, hey, really go with this system, then in this case, you may want to trust the group logic and go, all right, if I'm going to be in this thing for the long haul and I plan on loading up a lot of ammunition, let me just go with a Dillon. So you may want to do that. What are the best progressive reloaders? Are there any to stay away from? Yeah, Zach. Reloading Quest is Zach. He is the social media. I think he's the social media manager for Handloader magazine, I believe. The dude, I don't see when he sleeps. I really don't. Dude stays busy non-stop, putting out stuff, putting out content and all that. He does a great job. Any progressives to stay away from? Well, like they're saying, buy once, cry once. I mean, you can use the Lee, but those are finicky and they're cheap, and it just depends on, you might get lucky and you can load 10,000 rounds on them and you never really have a major issue, right? Or you might buy the progressive setup, load 500 rounds, and all of a sudden, whatever, right? Yeah, buy once, cry once. It's in that particular case, the Dillon seems to be the gold standard of progressive presses. I mean, when you have people like Eric Cortina, that he loads his F-class competition ammunition on a Dillon, then that kind of speaks for itself, right? I mean, those guys, their whole purpose is shooting extremely small groups at 1,000 yards, and they're loading their ammunition on a Dillon. So it's kind of all you need to know in terms of the equipment side of the house. I avoid Lee progressives, and Dillon is about the best. Yeah, yep, leaning towards Dillon or Hornady. I don't know anything about Hornady. I don't really hear much about people using a Hornady progressive. Also, search your used stuff. Most definitely, yeah. Because, and that's the thing too, especially nowadays with a lot of people that got into reloading during the whole panic buying, the COVID stuff and all that. Now, you might start seeing some of this stuff come on the market secondhand that's practically not even been used. And they're going to cut you a deal because now the stuff's just taking up space and they want it out of their house, right? So definitely search on used markets for this type of stuff. I've done a little bit of loading on a friend's Lee progressive, was not impressed. Yeah, probably not. If you're used to using, a little bit higher end equipment, yeah, you're probably not going to be super impressed with Lee. But if you're just now getting into it and you want to get your feet wet and you don't want to sink Dylan money into it, then you can go kind of the Lee route and fill it out. And then if you don't like it, you can just sell that stuff, right? Of course, you can always resell the Dylan too, but if you don't want to sink a ton into the upfront initial investment. Awesome customer service with Dylan as well. I've heard that too. Thinking of getting into reloading 410 slugs. Is it worth it? CW said you can load 410 pretty easily. He's got, see, exactly. Like I said, if you need something, just go to CW's channel, watch his videos. It probably is worth it. If you can't find 410 ammo, I know that stuff was basically impossible to come by for a while. I don't know if it still is, but I'll stand by. Okay, never mind. But yeah, I mean, you know, if you can't find it, then if you can figure out a way to make it yourself, you're definitely ahead of the curve. So what else did I want to test with 4350? Trying to think. It's costly and often not easy to find. Yeah, 410. That's what I was thinking. I know for a while it was, I had heard. Of course, you know, I don't shoot a 410. I'd like to have one day, but I don't have one now. But I'm talking with guys at church and different things like that. They were like, yeah, you can't find the stuff. So, what else while I've got it out? That's probably it. Yeah, that's it. I'll just do a 10-shot group of each, or I might do two 5-shot groups of each bullet powder combination, just to see how they shoot. But yeah, we're probably about to end the live stream. We've been going for a long time. I mean, I appreciate each and every one of you. I promise you, I really do appreciate everyone that joins, that comments, even the people that, like I said, that leave the stupid comments that I don't read, because I go through it and I proofread everything before I even bring it up and say it. So, the last time you saw them in the store, 35 bucks for 5. Yeah, you may want to look into reloading. Yep, go check out CW's channel, and go find some other reloading videos for 410 and then make it happen. Cause that's, yeah. I mean, depending on how much you're going to shoot it too, right? If you're only going to shoot a few TSS loads, go kill some turkeys or something, you know, and it might be worth it to load some up, but, you know, getting the stuff and then loading it and all that versus just going and buying a box. But then again, you know, a coworker of mine, a good friend of mine, he got into reloading kind of during the COVID pandemic sort of supply crunch where you couldn't find anything. And he was like, dude, this is kind of making me realize I want to have the ability to load my own ammunition, you know, which makes sense, right? Like whether you plan on going and competing or doing anything like that, but just having the ability to do it, and having the ability to load your own ammunition when other people can't even find it, it's definitely nice. So, recommendation I gave you. Oh, was that the McGuire ballistics? Yeah, they're not cheap. I will say that. So U.S. Countryman, I think that's what you're referencing. Maybe it's been so long ago now. That was a long time ago when I gave that recommendation. I actually have if it is that, I have a video where I went. I filmed my hunt through my scope. Yep. So I filmed my hunt through my scope, and it was when I shot that 9-point with that 30 cal version. You can go watch that video. It's on my channel. You don't have to go back too far to find it. But yeah, now I didn't actually get the deer dropping on camera because the recoil, the way the scope adapter sits on the scope and all that. Once you shoot, any amount of recoil is going to knock the phone kind of off the view there. But I think you'll enjoy the video. Yeah, you're really watching the video for the post-shot reaction, go check that out because it's the biggest buck I've ever killed. So pretty excited. But they performed great. That bullet did exactly what it was supposed to do. It expanded rapidly. It shed some of its weight, which is designed to do, fragment to a point, but then the shank stays intact and continues to drive through the animal. So yeah, huge fan of those bullets. But yeah, check them out. I know they are a little spendy. You know, they're solid copper, turned on their CNC machine, so they are premium bullets. So that's definitely not one you want to buy, you know, a few hundred of just to go and plink with, right? You're definitely not going to do that. They're not cheap. They're probably $1 a piece, around about. You know, 50 count box probably going to run you $50, somewhere in that range. They're right on par, maybe just a hair more expensive than like a Barnes. But yeah, really good stuff. Kind of similar to a hammer, you know, a hammer bullet. Hammers, I think, are a little bit less expensive than the Meguiar's, but yeah, really good option. I would highly recommend them. So, all right, guys, we've gone really long this evening. So I appreciate, like I said, each and every one of y'all. I think y'all sold me on the Dylan. Thanks. Well, it's just something that, like this, when you get around other people that have been doing it for a long time and they've kind of gone down that road, and it's like, hey, you can go the Lee route, but if you're even gonna have, like, if you have some level of like confidence that yes, I want to stick with this and I want to do this, then yeah, you are better off just making that initial investment into really, really quality equipment, because it's gonna make the experience that much better, right? Like, you go and buy a budget piece of reloading equipment. Now, it's good and it's bad, right? It gets you into the game for cheap to see if you even like it, but at the same time, you could have a bad experience with it because it's cheap, and then you're turned off to the hobby as a whole, right? So you got to keep that in mind too. Whereas if you go with the Dylan, right, or some, whatever it is, right, whatever we're talking about in terms of equipment and brand, you go with sort of the higher end, more recommended piece of equipment, just because it costs a little bit more money, your overall experience might be a lot better, right? And then you're gonna go, man, I really love this hobby, you know, because you started off with a really good piece of gear and it made the hobby more enjoyable. So you wanna stick with it. So think about that too. So that's it, guys. I'm done. My dog over here, he's out like a light now. He's done wore himself out. I need to probably walk him so he can use the bathroom, but I gotta go get these bullets seated. So y'all stay tuned for a lot of videos on that Frankenstein rim Mesa that we're calling it, you know, at this point. So should have a lot of stuff coming on that. And yeah, we'll catch y'all next time. Y'all stay tuned for some videos to drop, hopefully on that. And then let's see, what else do I have loaded up? Some 270 stuff, 30 TC. I've got some stuff I want to do in 30 TC. So yeah, God bless. Hope everyone has a wonderful evening or morning, wherever you're at on the globe, relative to my time zone. So we'll catch y'all later. Y'all have a good one. I really do appreciate each and every one of y'all. Just know that, you know, even like I said, the people that comment weird stuff that I'm never going to read, I do appreciate all of y'all just for tuning in. So, yep, y'all have a great night as well. So.